Pinchas. Vayidaber Shem Moshe Lemor. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. It's interesting. If you take a look in Parshas Bolok, when Pinchas did the act of zealotry, it says Vayar Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. This is a Vayar Pinchas ben Elazar. So even the time of the act of zealotry is identified as ben Aaron HaKohen, going back 2 generations. Here, Hashem says to Moshe, Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, Heshiv es chamosi mi'al b'nei Yisrael, Bekanu es kinosi b'socham, when he avenged my vengeance in the midst, v'lo chilisis b'nei Yisrael, and as a result of that, I did not consume the b'nei Yisrael, b'kinosi, my vengeance. Because he avenged my vengeance, therefore I did not consume them with my vengeance. Rashi, Rashi is the one who's difficult. He's citing Chazal. Lefisha yashvotim evazim oso, because the tribes were disgracing him. Heresim emputi zeh shepitim avi imo agolam avodazoro. Have you seen this person? They refer to him as Ben Puti, that his grandfather, from the maternal side, actually fattened calves for idolatry because he was from Yisrael. Voragnosi shevet Yisrael. Lefichach ba'akos v'yichso ach Aaron. So the Torah goes in to trace his pedigree to Aaron. So that's very good. That's after fact, correct? In the previous parsha, when it says Pinchas ben Elazar, that's at the time of the act of zealotry, right? So seemingly this Rashi is difficult. It's Chazal. It's according to the Gemara Sanhedrin. You have the difficulty. Okay, what did we say? No, that's the difficulty. He's saying the reason why the Torah has to trace it is to respond to the criticism, correct? But the criticism is only after fact. How did he see what he did? Who does he think he is? And besides, but at the time when he did the act of zealotry, he's already identified as Ben Aaron HaKohen. Talk about it. Secondly, if actually Klauso would have been destroyed, if not for Pinchas' act, does it really make a difference that he killed a Nasi? You have a person who's a gangster, and he saves a person's life because he's about to be murdered. You mean you had, and the one he murdered was an ordinary citizen, right? So you can say, where do you have the audacity to kill an ordinary citizen? You're a murderer. What do you mean? He saved his life. Here's the Lochilishis B'nei Yisrael B'Kanos Kinosi. He saved the day. The Klauso would have been destroyed. After knowing the severity of the moment, there's a basis for criticism. No, I know that's why he did it. I understand that. But what do we have to trace it? We're saying the reason why the Torah, normally the Torah, when it identifies a person, it's always so-and-so, the son of so-and-so. Why do we have to go back another generation? That's what Rashi is bringing the Gemara Sanhedrin. It's to respond to that criticism. Right? That's what Rashi says over here. Originally, when he killed him, there was nothing to respond to at that moment. That was pre-act. Right? And secondly, just stam the Pashup Pshat. Man saves Klal Yisrael. There's a basis for criticism. Where are they coming from? Okay. We'll do the next Rashi. We'll get back to it in a second. It says, Stam Pashup Pshat. Bekino es kinosi, bekanu es kinosi, b'nikmo es nikmosi. He avenged my vengeance. Bekotzu es haketzev shoyli liktzof. He was enraged with the anger that I should have been angered. Koloshin kino hu amischore lintkom nikmas dover. This is the Sefer over here. He says this many times. He says, "Bekino es kinosi, bekano es kinosi besocham." I mean, says Hashem says, "I would have consumed them. I would have destroyed them." Why are they culpable? They weren't involved with Balpor. But the question is, how do you remain silent when you see such a travesty being done? Right? So it was Besocham. When he killed Zimri, it was Besocham. The silence, the second silence, was a correction on the first silence. The Sivorna says, Barachet Egel, Levi was the smallest Shevet. Mila Shem Elai. So what was the claim against Klal Yisrael? How could you remain silent? Let the Erev Rab, or the handful of people do Avodah Zarah in your midst. How do you remain silent? When Levi went, Shevet Levi, and they killed over the Avodah Zarah, Klal Yisrael remained silent. So the second silence was a correction on the first silence. But it's the same way over there. The second shtika was a correction on the first shtika. See what he says here. Shostik Mosi Lady Kulam Kdei Shibrosum Zevalo Yimochu Yuchubra Shelo Micho Beposhim. That they didn't protest the second time is a kapara for the original non-protest. Ubezeh Heishiv es Chamosim Aleim. That removed the wrath from them. From here. Okay. It's the tikkun. The silence was the failing, right? If you see such a terrible thing, how do you remain silent, right? When the tikkun was taking place, they could have stopped it, or they could have protested it. That means they were in agreement that the Kiddush Hashem should take place. So the second silence is a correction on the first silence. Okay. The Baal Turim says over here that there's a the tagim on the letter kuf. Kanu is kinosi. Loma she'ichro al shekin el Hashem. Tagin are crowns. Meaning Pinchas was so-called coronated because of the act that he had done. That's what the tagim on the kuf represents. The kinosi. So I said the first question I asked, simple understanding. It answers both questions. When Pinchas did his act, there's always a question, why did someone else do it? Yet other than Nesiim, right? Why didn't they do it? Or the average person, why did he do it? So what's the answer? The answer is, to be able to stand up against the person who's not your peer is not so simple. Right? So how did Pinchas do it? The answer is because Pinchas comes from a line where they have no scruples. Comes from over the Avodah Zarah. So they're not criticizing him for the accomplishment. But the question is, what kind of person are we dealing with? Who is Pinchas? Pinchas comes from over the Avodah Zarah. Because if he be a person of true pedigree, he couldn't do that. How did he go killed in such a way? Especially a person, he's a miyuchas, he's the ultimate pedigree. Zimri and Cosby, just the opposite. It points out that despite the fact that they deserve that special status, that didn't in any way deter him from doing what he did. People are intimidated by status. Pinchas wasn't intimidated. So what they say, why we were intimidated? Why wasn't he intimidated? The answer is because it comes from over the Avodah Zarah. His grandfather fattened calves for Avodah Zarah. So when they attribute it to Aaron, oh, now we understand. Because he's of greater pedigree. Therefore, he wasn't. Therefore, he could do what we couldn't do. But the truth is, that's not the emes. The emes is because Pinchas was Ben Elozah Kohen. Because he was really special. Meaning when it comes to Chil Hashem, pedigree means nothing. Because his father was Pinchas ben Elozah ben Aaron Kohen. So when he did the act, what was the truth? Why was he such a tzaddik? Because Pinchas ben Elozah ben Aaron Kohen. Therefore, when it comes to Chil Hashem, status means nothing. All that matters is Kavod Shamayim. But in terms of the way Klal Yisrael processed it, they didn't process it that way. You mean he's the tzaddik, we're not the tzaddik? That doesn't reflect well on them. Therefore, the Torah has to. So there was a criticism, not because he saved the day. The criticism was only to be able to somehow to save face for themselves. Why wouldn't we do it? Exactly. If we would have had that back, we could have done it too. Reading a story. There was a person, his name was Rabbi Gutmacher. I'm not sure he's from Germany originally. So somebody once said something about him to Brisker Rov, that he held a certain position on Zionism. And even though he lived in the late 1800s, but that when the movement started then already. So the Brisker Rov says, Chas v'sholom. He right away dismissed it. So he told over a story that he heard from his father, from Chaim. Brisker heard from his father that Rabbi Elio Gutmacher was a bocher. He was a chasna, and he was being Mismech Chos Mekal in a way where the Balabat himself, he felt it's enough. Be more controlled. It's enough. And Rabbi Kivega was at the chasna. Kivega was at the wedding. So Kivega said to the people, leave him alone. The fire of Torah is burning in him. So it's not, he's just a wild person. That he's doing the mitzvah with L'Shem Shamayim to such a degree, the Torah is burning in him. So therefore he can't contain himself. So that's what Kivega said on Rabbi Leo Gutmacher. So Reb Chaim says, he was only a bocher. We're not even talking about he was an accomplished lady. He became one of the Gedolei Yisrael, right? So that's what Brisker Rav says. He says, a person who, Reb Gutmacher said that as a young man, you're going to watch it. You can say this was his position. Impossible. It's chas v'sholom. Okay, let's see the Maral. Ephraim, give me a cup of coffee. It's finished. It's ready. Thank you. What do you mean murdered him? If a person goes and kills Hitler, you're going to have something against the person. But you murdered. How do you pull the trigger? What kind of background do you have? You brought up on the street as a criminal to kill Hitler. You understand? Who are we killing?